Okay, Alhamdulillah, we are online on their Facebook page, and you can start, inshallah.
Okay. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد, today, inshallah, I will be dealing with the second part of the signs of the last day, the end of the time in this dunya. So what I will be doing, Bismillah Azza wa Jal, is to discuss the matter in two parts. Bismillah Azza wa Jal. The first part, the minor signs of the Day of Judgment, and the second one will be the major signs of the Day of Judgment. Most likely, the time we have will not be enough. So what I will be doing, inshallah, I will just focus on lessons that we can benefit from those hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam regarding the minor signs of the Day of Judgment, inshallah. And this matter was detailed by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In a way, it is inappropriate to address everything in 1 or 2, 3 lectures. Books have been written concerning this matter. Also, a comprehensive compilation that I know concerning this matter is that of Abdurrahman At-Tuwajiri, a very excellent and detailed book concerning the Ashrat al-Sa'a wal-Fitan wal-Malah. It talks about the trials and the tests and the fitna and also the battles that happen in this life before the Day of Judgment. And he also talked about the signs of the Day of Judgment. And being a muhaddith, his book has some credit, in relation to other books. Although he's one of the contemporary scholars, I guess he died, but the book was excellent in 3 volumes. There are other books written by many scholars, such as Yusuf Wabil. This is a thesis he wrote, I think either master's or PhD, a very, very, very excellent summarized version of the signs of the Day of Judgment. And he has it in 1 volume. You have the book also written by Ibn Kathir. There are many other scholars. There is also a very small, concise book, which I guess most of us are not aware of it, but it's so excellent. It's actually the summary of what was written by Dr. Yusuf Wabil. They call it Al-Ida'ah Fima Sahha an Ashrat al-Sa'a, or Al-Ida'ah Bima Sahha an Ashrat al-Sa'a. That's the name of the book. They're very small, but what they do is just mention the hadith. No lessons are mentioned, nothing, except in rare situations. So we just try to compress all of the hadith and then mention them to the people for the sake of the benefit. Because most of those hadiths of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they're very clear for everyone. Because the Prophet ﷺ meant by saying all of those things for people to understand what to do. If he's making the word complicated in the way life is nowadays, then how do people benefit from these ahadith? So these Ashrat al-Sa'ah, they are a lot. This Sheikh Yusuf, and he mentioned, I guess, more than 50 signs. And you can go more. The more you read from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the more you discover other things which he might be missing. So these are the Ashrat al-Sa'ah as-Sughra. There are many, as I said. So inshallah, I will take them one after the other. Not all of them, of course. I just try to select those that I believe either they happened or they're very crucial. All of them are crucial and important for Muslims to know. But since I have to be very brief, so I just selected some of the most important ones for the Muslim to be aware of until he meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'll begin with the hadith narrated by a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Auf ibn Malik al-Ash'ari. Auf ibn Malik al-Ash'ari, he went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the battle of Tabuk. No, the battle of Tabuk was the last battle fought by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He went, and fortunately, the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ran away. They were not able to meet him. Different reasons mentioned by, several reasons mentioned by the historians about the reason why they ran away, but they did not meet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that battle an important battle that segregates between the truth and the falsehood. The munafiqun are exposed. The weak from amongst the Muslims are exposed. Those people who can be deceived by the dunya sometimes were exposed. So, and because of that, you see, surah like At-Tawbah was revealed to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where you can see almost everyone is touched in that Quran. The companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam are touched in that surah. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, even he himself, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala blamed him in that surah. The munafiqeen are really touched, the kuffar are really touched, the believers are also touched, and those people who decided to take a break for a while and then to come back to the truth also are touched. So it's a very important surah, this surah to Al-Kahf, where the truth becomes so clear and the falsehood becomes so clear. That's the beginning of the surah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala announced the disconnection and the breaking of all kinds of relationship, between Islam, we're talking about social relationship and those kind of permission or respect they used to be given by the Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala break down. He broke everything, cut it off, no more, and gave them a period of time for them to change, or else they should announce, they should announce a war between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they should be ready with this. So the Battle of Tabuk, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he went there, and it happens during the year, the 9th year of the Hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Tabuk, as you know, is a place between Medina and on your way to Sham, to Damascus, on the way to Sham, that's where you find the Tabuk. Because that battle also was fought by the Prophet, was supposed to happen between the Prophet ﷺ and the Romans. But as I said, they failed to attend, out of the fear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in their heart. So it is too far. It's around 1,000, more than 1,200 kilometers. Imagine the believers have to go. And it was, the temperature is so high, it's too hot. And also, the need by the Muslims is too high also at the same time. So that's why those people, and the Prophet ﷺ was begging people to attend. That's why those people who managed to participate in giving charity at that moment, subhanAllah, it was really, really appreciated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Remember Uthman radiallahu anhu, Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to him, "Ma dharra Uthmana ma fa'ala ba'da al-yawm." He supported that battle and nobody did what he did. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, nothing can harm him after today. So during that battle, Auf ibn Malik al-Ash'ari said, I went to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and I found him fi qubbatin min adam. He said, I found him in a tent, built by the skin of the animal. That's the Adam. By any tent. So I found the Prophet ﷺ inside this tent. And then he told me, Ya Auf, u'udud sittan bayna yaday sa'ah. He said, count 6 things that will happen before the day of judgment. He said you should count 6 things that will happen before the day of judgment. He said the day of judgment will not happen until you see the arrival or the existence of these 6 things. The first one, he said, Mauti, my death. ثم فتح بيت المقدس. The Prophet ﷺ said, my death. The death of the Prophet ﷺ is a sign for the day of judgment. But before the day of judgment, there is another sign which took place, which you can say the first major sign of the day of judgment. The Prophet ﷺ, and this first thing is the arrival of the Prophet ﷺ as a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The prophecy and the risala given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet ﷺ is the first sign of the day of judgment. The Prophet ﷺ said, Bu'ithtu ana was-sa'ata kahati. And then he put between, he combined the 2 things. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent me together with the day of judgment like this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him the day of judgment like this. He connected between the 2 things. That's mean they are very close to each other. They're connected to each other. In some narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, Bu'ithtu fi nasmi sa'a or fi al-nasmi alladhi taqumu alayhim as-sa'a. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent me fi nasm. Al-nasm, or nasm, al-nasm, this word is either referring to nasama or is referring to the nasim. And nasim is the first part of the wind when it emerges. You know, the first part of the wind when it emerges is very, what they call calm, and then it will keep increasing. It comes slowly, gradually, and then it will become. So that means the Prophet ﷺ was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the moment when the signs of the day of judgment started to begin. Or we say it is referring to the Nasama, which means the Prophet ﷺ is sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the generations that the day of judgment will happen. This life will end with them. In the last generation in which the day of judgment is going to take place with them. After them, there will be no any other generation to come. So that's the reason why the scholars mention that the first sign for the day of judgment, the minor signs of the day of judgment, is the message of the Prophet ﷺ. And that's the greatest blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted humankind in this life, to have this excellent human being to come and guide people and hold upon their hand towards that which earns them falah fi dunya and tawfiq, and falah fi dunya, and also falah in the akhirah. That's what the Sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his risalah does. Allah says, Ma arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alamin. It's a mercy sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the humankind to remove them from the darkness to the success, to the light of Iman. There was almost no place on earth before the arrival of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that is in good shape. The Arabs, they were in a state of chaos. Go and read the history and see the life of the Arabs before the arrival of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this will help you to understand how silly is the brain of those people who are from the Arabs, But then now they are coming to criticize even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We hear them nowadays in the news, which is an epidemic, subhanAllah, musibah to have somebody. I refer to the Arabs because if they look at the life before the arrival of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they should appreciate this message much more greater than anybody else. The choice itself, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is choosing them to bring a prophet from them as a favor, as an incentive which nobody get it. You know, the Jews, they used to travel to Medina. They relocate to Medina, you know, to stay there because they want to have the blessing of being, you know, among those people who the last prophet could be extracted from them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala skipped them. He chose from the Arabs, one of them to make him the final messenger, not just the final messenger, the best human being ever created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the reason why I'm focusing, because look at this, the way Islam put them in the position where they are in. But then now you have somebody who lost his aql, who can tell you that Rasulullah Sallallahu should be corrected. Rasulullah Sallallahu should be corrected. SubhanAllah. How is he going to live if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send this mercy to humankind that extracted his foreparents? They became Muslims. And they became, successors, so people who are, mashallah, carrying the truth to others. And they did an excellent job, those companions of the Prophet Sallallahu. But look at their great-grandchildren, what they are doing nowadays. And the same goes to every single place, you know, on earth. If you go and study the history and see the way life was there, you will never understand how did the Prophet ﷺ manage to do it. That's tawfiq min Allah azza wa jalla. Wallahi, that was the absolute tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet also managed to remove and to cleanse the earth from all of those atrocities and falama. He brought them to justice. That they have all the weapons, they have all the preparations, they have everything, and the Prophet also had little. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a hand of support. The way the Prophet also managed to take the truth and justice to us everywhere, either directly or indirectly. Directly when he did what he did with the people who were surrounding him. Indirectly when he supported and he produced those people, that generation of the companions who carry on the message after him. And now it comes to also our community. You know, for instance, the sisters. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide those sisters who lost their uqul. And nowadays you can hear the business is always with the sisters. If you want to destroy a nation, you just come from the right of the woman. Women's right, women's right. The moment you hear somebody talking about this, watch and see. And the problem is our sisters are not understanding. They always go with this propaganda, you know. Somebody's benefited and they know exactly what they're doing because they had everything in the history. What happened? They know what happened. So that's why they are pushing the sister back to the old age, the old life. Go and read the history and read books like Untitled Chapter and some other books that talks about history of women in this life, you know. Almost you can never find a place where a woman is respected. She only got respect and made as a queen. And I mean my word, made as a queen when Islam came. So when Islam came, this is when she was made as a queen. From that hardship and the life where she has no value at all, they used to treat her as a property. Believe it or not, go and read the history. You will see that she was nothing but a property that could be traded and that could be used as a rahan. You know, subhanAllah, so silly. And those are the people that show some mercy. You know, others, they think to have a woman in your house is an insult. SubhanAllah, it's an insult. Even when you see the attitude, you know, that they don't fight women usually, it's not out of respect. No, it wasn't. It was, this is one of the greatest shame, you know, shame that can happen to somebody to be recorded in history that he fought. That's part of the disrespect, you know. They used to bury them alive. Islam came, not only stopped this, But Islam says those ones that were killed previously, the case is not closed yet. It will be reopened the day the person who did that will never be happy to see this case be reopened again. SubhanAllah. Go and see how Islam, favor them in most instances where he took the heavy responsibilities and duties and put it on the shoulder of the brothers. Whenever there is something good, they will get it first, and then the brothers will get whatever left. But that was not enough. They have to come and go side by side and do whatever the brothers do. SubhanAllah. You can see that absolutely deficiency in thinking, that a person will think that he doesn't become perfect until he imitates the opposite gender. Sisters thinking that they will not be perfect until they do whatever the brothers are doing. And the brothers are thinking, that they will not be perfect until they do whatever the sisters do. So I just decided to refresh your mind with this, that the arrival of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, wallahi, was the ultimate success. And a human being, if there is, something for them to be very serious in and not to compromise any part of it, it should be that which is brought to them by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Every single person, when he looks into the history, he will understand that, yes, definitely, this is actually the essence of our existence and protection, the arrival of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his message. So that was the first sign of the Day of Judgment. The second one, according to the hadith of Auf bin Malik al-Ashja'i, he says, Moti. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam led them to the truth, to success. They have the lead, they took the lead. After being the tails of others, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam brought them up. He brought them up. They become the rulers over the Persians and the Romans. Those were the greatest two empires that we had before. They were led by Islam. Najashi, the African empire, accepted Islam. Although the community did not accept it, but the king knows the truth. He recognizes it because it was a Christian who is thinking in the wise way. Those ones were so arrogant. The kingdom is more important than the success in the hereafter to them. They don't care about anything. Just like their successors now. Which religion is the Which religion is developed in the Western community? Which one? No, all of these things are propaganda. Otherwise, if they do accept religion, at least there are some truth to some part of what we're talking about. But they rejected all of this. They mess up the book which they claim to be following. So that was the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He came with the truth. And the light came to the earth. So the first sign, the second sign of the Day of Judgment is the death of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He lived with people around 23 years. He died at the age of 63. So from the time he was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until the time he died, 23 years. The guidance was given. And then the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam died. His death is really calamity for the humankind. At least, although qadaran is good for the Ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but it's a calamity for us at the same time. Why is it good? Because the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told them, the companions, that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves good for a nation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take the Prophet first, and then he will be the caretaker of that nation. Allahu Akbar. But if Allah doesn't want good, for people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish them and destroy them in the presence of their Prophet, or whoever will be witnessing that, their destruction in front of his eyes. That's what happened with the previous nation. The previous nations, almost all of them got this. So the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not treated in that way. So the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a sign of the Day of Judgment. And that was the end of the wahi to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the humankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closed that page completely. Human beings have been given that which is more than enough for them to succeed in this life. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam. Today I have completed your religion and perfected my favor unto you. Wa raditu lakum al-Islam. And I have agreed with Islam to be the religion. So everything has been completed. The Prophet ﷺ, he has done his job. So why the companion, they sense from this that something is going to happen. And exactly what happened. The Prophet ﷺ came down and told them, Inna abdan khayyarahullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a choice for one of the slaves of Allah, one of his slaves, either to stay in this dunya and enjoy life, or to agree to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he chose to stay, he chose to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abu Bakr said, Ya Rasulullah, our parent has sacrificed for your life and so on. We are willing to provide your parent, as a ransom, to ransom our parent for you to live there. So he's the only one who understands what the Prophet also was talking about. He's talking about himself. He cried a lot. And the people are surprised. Why is he crying? The Prophet ﷺ was just narrating a narration about somebody. He's crying for what? That was the choice of that man. He never thought that this was Rasulullah because they would cry with him. Because Auf ibn Malik, when the Prophet ﷺ talked about his death being the first sign of the Day of Judgment, he cried a lot until the time the Prophet ﷺ asked him to relax. It's enough. Because nobody will accept it. Wallahi, that's the reason why Anas bin Malik said, when the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, everything became bright in Medina. When he left, everything became dark in Medina. They see things like dark things. That light which things used to be enjoying, it was taken. So everything became dark. They did not know. They were so confused when he died. They did not know how to live their life. That's why reading this history and the story of the Prophet ﷺ is really important and necessary. You want to live a comfortable life and an excellent life and a good life, read the biography of the Prophet ﷺ. So Prophet ﷺ died and they died. That's the second sign of the Day of Judgment. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم فتح بيت المقدس. فتح بيت المقدس. بيت المقدس, this is the Bayt which they call Jerusalem, but we call it Bayt al-Maqdis. The conquest of Bayt al-Maqdis. Who did that? Does this happen? Yes, it happened during the time of Umar. It happened again afterwards, but during the time of Umar, it happened. In a very, very excellent battle, where you can see our heroes and our warriors, subhanAllah. Very excellent strategy. When you read this battle in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, you will really enjoy the life of those companions of the Prophet. SubhanAllah. We don't have these sophisticated systems we have, but they have that which Allah granted them, which is part of that. They're very smart. They know how to disturb those emperors who are criminals. Allah, they are none other than the criminals. But those humble companions, they took the justice to that place and the right was given to prevail. Umar radiallahu anh, he liberated that place. He built the masjid in the place and he prayed. He was asking Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf where to pray. He said, if I were you, I would put the sakhra, the rock, in front of me. I'm facing the Kaaba, but towards the side of the rock, so that the whole Bayt al-Maqdis will be in front of me, and the Kaaba is in the same direction, but I put it between me and the Kaaba, Bayt al-Maqdis. Umar ibn al-Khattab told him, لَقَدْ ضَاحَيْتَ الْيَهُودِ. You are just imitating the Yahud. This is the case. He said, no. He said, I will pray in the way the Prophet ﷺ used to pray. So he faced the Qibla straight without putting the masjid. So Bayt al-Maqdis was conquered, and this is a sign for the Day of Judgment. And it happened that Salahuddin did that, and inshallah, a day will come. This masjid will be liberated again. Inshallah, they like it or they don't like it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise is going to be established upon them. Whether they agree or they don't agree, there has to be a time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cleanse that place from them. They have to leave the place. They have to leave the place and go back to where they came from. So Fathu Bayt al-Maqdis, which happens in the year 16 of the Hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ثُمَّ مُوتَانٌ يَأْخُذُ فِيكُمْ قَطْوَ عَصْرَةً. And then Mutan is a strong death, heavy death. So many people are dying, which will be killing you and taking and harvesting you just like the way Qu'as al-Ghanam is doing. Qu'as al-Ghanam is the disease that affects the sheep. When it comes to one of them, that something will be coming from the nose. And once it happens like this, it will be die. It will die immediately. And then it will just drop down dead. And then if you have one getting affected, it will keep on spreading. So they said this is referring to the ta'ud, the epidemic that happens during the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. SubhanAllah. The companions are really tested. In some part of the history, they're talking about 60,000 people losing their life in 3 days. Some are mentioning that 60,000 people lost their life in 3 days. SubhanAllah. 60,000 people losing their life in 3 days. And that was something really new. According to the most famous history, around 25,000 people died. So many companions of the Prophet ﷺ died. They call it Ta'ud or Amwas. Amwas, this is a place in Palestine. It started from there and then kept on spreading in Sham. Sham was Palestine, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. So it spread in almost every place. It claims the life of many. That's what the Prophet ﷺ referring to, and he said he says Mutan. Allahu Alam, most of the scholars are talking about this epidemic, that it already happened during the 18th year of the Hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ during the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, and many companions of the Prophet ﷺ died. One of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ who died in that situation was Abu Ubaidah, Amir ibn Jarrah. Umar really wanted him to come back, because Umar knows what happens here. He knows what will happen due to the information given to them by the Prophet ﷺ, that many people are going to die when this ta'un comes, and they see it coming. So Abu Ubaidah was one of the keys that we cannot get rid of him. Not getting rid of him, but we cannot do what we are doing without having people like him. We cannot just compromise him. We're just looking for the best word to express the way Umar see the thing. He sent a letter to Abu Ubaidah, Amir ibn Jarrah. He was looking for him. Tell him, come, we need you here for some issues. So that's an official letter. Although you cannot go when there is ta'un, you shouldn't go out, you shouldn't go out, you shouldn't go in. So Umar wanted to use this, tricky way to bring him back to Medina. He says, officially the government is in need of him. Please come here, I really need you. Abu Ubaidah is a very smart person. He knows that Umar doesn't want him to stay in that place. He sent a letter back to Umar. Should I come with all of the army? Umar said, no, I don't want to go. He said, as long as I am not going to come with the army, I will stay. Umar insists, he said, no, I will stay. If you agree that I will come with everyone, then I will come. And subhanAllah, what Umar was afraid of happened. That was the choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah. Sorry, the battery is going to. That was a choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Abu Ubaidah. Because dying during the Ta'ud is a shahada. So he spent his life conquering those places, sending the truth to that place, bringing justice to those places. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala combined for him that good and the other good, which is to be shaheed also in that way. Because anyone who died in Ta'ud, this is shahada written. Al-Mat'ud, the Prophet said. And also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says that Ta'ud is not a punishment for everyone. It's punishment for the criminals, but shahada and mercy for the righteous. Mu'adh ibn Jabal also died during Ta'ud. It's a great companion. Mu'adh was the leader of the scholars in the Ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That Ta'ud did not leave people like that. And also, it's the choice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want them to come because it is an expiation for the person who died in the middle of a pandemic, as long as epidemic, as long as he's patient. He's righteous and patient. So this is Ta'un Amwas. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم استفاضة المال حتى لا يقبله أحد أو حتى يأتي الرجل ب100 دينار إلى آخر أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو حتى يعطى الرجل 100 دينار فيظل ساخطا. The Prophet ﷺ said, and then the wealth will be a lot, in abundance. Have so much wealth in the Muslim community. This is going to happen, subhanAllah, from no food to eat, and now the wealth is so much. حتى يعطى الرجل 100 دينار فيظل ساخطا. In the way you will give 100 dinar to a person, he will be angry because it's too little. What is he going to do with this? And there are many other hadith that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that we will reach also a time whereby a person will be looking for somebody to take his charity and nobody will accept it from him. They saw some part of this during the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz because justice was there. When Umar took them back to the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they saw this mu'jiza and the sign mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ. So it happens in many ways. In the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, it happens in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Some say in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, or in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, and it will also happen during the time of Isa alayhi salam. Inshallah, we will discuss this when we talk about the major signs of the new. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم موتان ثم هدنة تكون بينكم وبين بني الأصفر فيغدرون. And then a treaty will happen between you and the Bani al-Asfar. Bani al-Asfar shouldn't understand the children of yellow, that he is referring to the Romans. The way they look all it's referring to, but Bani al-Asfar, this is a reference to the Romans. The Prophet ﷺ said there will be a treaty between you and the Bani al-Asfar. فَيَغْدِرُوا. And subhanAllah, you can imagine what kind of enemy is that enemy which the Muslims and the Christians and the Jews, they are all going to unite themselves. Can you imagine what kind of enemy was that? What kind of enemy this person could be? In way, these three, religions. One of them is the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but these three who used to fight each other across the ages, now they are going to unite themselves to fight an enemy. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Adu min ghayri. Who is this Adu? Allah. That's the best answer to the second side of this matter. And by the way, the signs of the Day of Judgment, we should understand them literally in the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. Literally in the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. No modification, no readjustment, no modern interpretation should be applicable. So the Prophet ﷺ said, we'll have this treaty. But he did not mention the enemy. So we don't know which enemy is that. So many people are saying that this is the enemy, so and so. All of these are conjectures. These are just people bringing their own thoughts. But the correct interpretation is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will see that enemy when that happens. We will know who this enemy could possibly be. He says, فَيَغْدِرُونَ, but they will cheat in the treaty. They will betray the trust. فَيَأْتُونَكُمْ تَحْتَ ثَمَانِينَ خَيْرٍ, they will come and fight you under 80 banners. They call it ghaya because here ghayatu al-muttabi. They call it ghaya because it is a ghayatu al-muttabi. Ghaya means the limitation. The one who is following, he is making the banner, as the meeting point and the place where he restricts himself to that one. He moves when the banner moves. He stops when the banner stops. Doesn't go beyond that. That's why they call it Gaya. Gaya is the end. So the Prophet ﷺ said they will betray that treaty and they will come and fight you under 80 banners. Each banner has under 12,000 soldiers. Now, break the calculation and see how many will be. But that's also a reference that says that these people are going to be a lot. The Prophet ﷺ said, تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ وَالرُّومُ أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ. The Day of Judgment will happen at the time that Rome, the Romans, they are the most populous generation. So most likely that might happen when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala akhadha sharifatan. We'll talk about this inshallah. And then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, وَفِتْنَةٌ لَا يَبْقَى دَارٌ مِنْ دُونِ الْعَرَبِ إِلَّا دَخَلْتُ. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, and also a fitna, and a musibah that happens, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, there will be no house from the houses of the Arabs except that this fitna get inside. SubhanAllah. What is this fitna? Allahu Akbar. The Prophet ﷺ said there will be no house except that fitna get inside this house. SubhanAllah. When the first time this satellites, those dish that brings channels, to the house, when they came, one of them was making reference. He says, Wallahu alam, we don't know, but this could be, because in some of those countries, the door is open for everyone to watch whatever they want. And subhanAllah, out of 500 channels, you might see that none of them is okay, except maybe one. Many channels, you see them, nothing except showing promiscuity, zina, lesbianism, and all of these useless things which are corrupting the mind of the children and the youth. So that's fitna. But is that what the Prophet ﷺ is talking about? Wallahu a'lam. Could be possible, but wallahu a'lam. But that was really fitna. And up to date also, we have worse than that, as the internet. You know, as the internet. SubhanAllah. It's good. It brings good. You know, we're having this lecture too, and we don't know where is it going to go. You know, it's good. It's a very strong and excellent means that we use to spread the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the same time, it has millions of trash and millions of evil and millions of bad things and millions of corruption. And you know that the fear is on the youth and the younger ones. That's why, my dear brothers and sisters, it's okay for us to exercise our freedom. But you should always remember that in Islam, there is no absolute freedom, because you're restricted. Your freedom is restricted to obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and your freedom must obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you want to have the internet in the house, that's fine and excellent, because you can, access, a lot of benefit. And they were there, a lot. But at the same time, you should understand that you're limited to that which is halal. You have children, you want them to exercise their freedom. Always remember the time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to keep you in front of Him and tell you, Fulan or Fulana, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask you, your daughter, your son, last time they were watching this and that, what were you? Why did you bring it to the house in the first place? You should always remember that, because if you remember that, you will never show mercy upon them in that way. You will understand that mercy is to stop them from doing that which is wrong. And when you give them a chance to browse whatever they want to do, it should be restricted. There has to be a lot of conditions, and you have to put a lot of precautions to make sure that they don't go beyond the limit. You're not restricting their freedom, but you're helping them to be trained. The heart to be trained upon concentrating in that which is good. And wallahi, my dear brothers, if you make that mistake and you let your children go and browse everything, don't be surprised if tomorrow they come and start criticizing and challenging those thawabit. Thawabit, these are the things that are unchangeable in Islam. The principles which makes a person Muslim, if you lack them, you go out of Islam immediately. They will start questioning those ones. Why? Because they visit every place. And they're going to have those apostate websites which are designed by the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who claim to be Muslims, but now they went against it. What used to happen when our children go to the Western community, and up to date this happened, when they leave and go to the Western community, up to date, we are receiving these tragedies, that our children are changing into something else. And we still think it's cool, it's okay, it's fine for us to take our children to those places. We still think it's okay. Yeah, because we mentioned that I studied at Cambridge University, I studied Harvard, I studied in what else? All of these universities which are founded by them. My son used to be in England, my son used to be in the US, I forgot his tarbiyah and his religion. I forgot that this person lost his identity. And it's also going to come back in the Muslim community if he agrees to come back and became what? Qunbula. Qunbula means musibah for the community. So we have to be very careful. You bring the device to the house, but it shouldn't be unrestricted. It should be restricted. You should understand your responsibility and how heavy is that responsibility when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do. The Prophet Sallallahu said, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you to handle the responsibility, but unfortunately you don't do it correctly, you cheated in that responsibility, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make Jannah prohibited. So these are the 6 things mentioned by the Prophet Sallallahu in that hadith. And then after that, the fitan are going to take place. After that, the fitan are going to take place. the trials, the test for this ummah is going to take place. These fitan, I will not talk about them in detail, because inshallah I plan, even like ta'ala, in the future, not very long, once I finish with the book of that wadawa, we'll come and study a book on this Ashrat al-Sa'a from A to Z, inshallah, so that everyone will be aware of how to live a life in the middle of this Ashrat al-Sa'a. So I will just shed light, scan, and highlight these things. So we're talking about the fitan. The fitans are the plural of the fitna. These are the trials. These are the tests that will happen to this ummah. These are the masa'ib that will take place in the ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And these fitan, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned that they will be coming from the mashriq. Mashriq is the east. The east. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said they will be coming from the east. Subhanallah, that is exactly what happened. A study have been made by some, which inshallah, if Allah SWT wish one, they will come and mention them in detail, that almost all of those fitan that happened to the Muslim community, their root is from the Mashriq. The Khawarij, the Mu'tazila, the Shia, Baha'iyya, all of those things, fitnatul khalq al-Quran, all of these things, that penetrated the Muslim communities and disturbed them and break the Muslims into pieces. They took place and they began from that. We have, after the death of Umar radiallahu anhu, which was at the hand of that criminal Abu Lu'lu'a al-Majusi, who was praised by the Shia up to date. They love him so much, and they praise him, and they ask Allah to resurrect him. And he was a Majusi. He wasn't even a Muslim, he was a Majusi. So after the death of Umar radiallahu anhu, you have the assassination of who? Uthman radiallahu anhu. Who was responsible behind this? The Jew. So that you will understand the reason why the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said to Zayd ibn Thabit, he said, please go and learn the language of the Jew. The language of the Jews. فَإِنِّي لَا أَعْمَنُهُمْ عَلَى كِتَابٍ. He said, because I don't trust them on our book. They did what they did with the Christianity and corrupted the Bible and Christian there in the way they are now. And subhanAllah, they don't understand. What kind of plot was inserted in that Sharia of theirs by the enemies of that Sharia? And up to date, you understand. So that you will understand why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling them Balun, those who were destroyed. So Zayd ibn Thabit, he went and learned the language of the Jew in around 2 weeks, 14 to 16 days. That's tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knew how to read, how to write, and how to speak. So that person, whose name was Abdullah ibn Saba al-Yahudi. Abdullah ibn Saba al-Yahudi was a Jew who hypocritically announced that he's a Muslim, but unfortunately he wasn't. Because he sees that according to the history, that Islam cannot be fought by the weapon. You're just wasting your time. If you claim that you're going to fight Islam and destroy it using the weapon, it will be a waste of time. So he decided to change the battle, the dimension of the battle, to come inside and fight Islam from within. He was the one who created the Shiism. And before the Shiism, he was the one who brought people from Kufa, people from Egypt, people from Basra. You can see Mashriq also. At least those two, Kufa is from Iraq, Basra from Iraq. He brought those people. They came to Medina, and they ended up by assassinating Uthman. And after that, fitan kept on coming. You have the appointment of Ali bin Abi Talib as a leader, which was accepted by almost all the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, although Muawiyah and Talha and Zubayr ibn Awam, they have certain conditions, which is they want the right and the justice to be applied on those people who assassinated Uthman. So that led the Muslim to that great fitna mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ, where Muslims fought themselves. In the two battles which are so famous, the Battle of Jamal and the Battle of Siffin. Aisha radiallahu anha participated not in the battle, she went for reconciliation. But unfortunately, it doesn't work. Because you have people who don't have interest in peace to take place in the Muslim community. And they were behind the assassination of Uthman. Because they know if Muawiyah and Ali are going to agree, that will be the end. So that's why they got them down. I mean, they got the treaty down. They destroyed it completely, and they attack one of these parties so that the war will exist between them, and it happened in that. In the way some of the historians mentioned that 30,000 people were killed in one of these battles. So these two fitna happens. What should be the stand of the Muslim concerning this? This is an issue that happened in the past. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected our tongue from getting involved. We should make sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected our sword and our weapon from getting involved. We should make sure that our tongue also is protected. All of them are companions of the Prophet ﷺ, are those people who happen to be companions. And what happens to them is part of human nature. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that it's going to happen, and he called them Muslims. So they were doing that based on ijtihad. The one who was correct got two rewards. And we believe, according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Ali bin Abi Talib is the closest person to be with the truth. And the one who was wrong got one reward. Because they're all making ijtihad, trying to reach the truth. There was no leadership interest. Anyone who tells you that Muawiyah was looking for leadership, that was a lie. So that happened, and also this is part of the sign of the day of judgment, part of the fitna. And you have fitna to Khawarij. The Khawarij, they came, those people who rebelled against Ali bin Abi Talib and Muawiyah, and they fought the Muslims also. And we still have some of the balances up to this moment. Up to this moment. And they develop that ideology. They develop it into many other things. It has a system. So they're very strong, they're very fierce in their fighting. But Ali bin Abi Talib brought them down to justice when they start attacking the Muslims. Because he says, we will not do anything to you. As long as you don't do anything to us, we will also not do anything. And you have the Battle of Harra, where this happened during the time of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, where Medina was legalized for people to do whatever they want in Medina for 3 days. That's what many historians mention. 3 days Medina was made halal. According to some part of the history, 3 days. So many sisters were raped because criminals went to fight in that place. Criminals went to fight in that place. A person called Muslim, and the scholars call him Musrif. He showed no mercy to the Muslims. He killed so many companions and so many people. And this is Medina to Rasulullah sallallahu. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala got him so. And then you have the fitna of the qawl bi khalq al-Quran, those people who think that Quran is also a created being. That fitna also went and passed. Imam Shafi was in trouble because of that. Imam Ahmad was in trouble. Many scholars were in trouble because of this. And also following and imitating the previous nation. This one is still in existence. Being proud of imitating them, being happy with their system, up to date. Muslims think that we are backward and those people succeeded. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Imran, لا يغرنك تقلب الذين كفروا في البلاد متاع قليل ثم مأواهم جهنم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't you ever be deceived by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving them of the dunya. It is only small and simple amount of dunya which will fizzle very soon and they will be taken to hell. The Prophet ﷺ said, لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ السَّنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ شِبْرًا بِشِبْرٍ. You're going to be following the sunnah of those people who came before you, step by step. Even if one of them gets inside the hole of a lizard, you're going to go inside that. Look at our time now. It's exactly following those ones. We follow them. Even in references in our writings, we refer to them. Wisdom we take from them. Almost everything we refer to. We raise them up. We raise them up. They have nothing. They took from us. Many things are taken from the Muslims, and they develop it and modify it and claim that this is theirs. And now we were going back to that attitude or position of becoming the tailor of others. One of these signs of the Day of Judgment is the ulama, the missing of the trust in the amana. The Prophet ﷺ said that amana is going to be taken. In the hadith of that person who came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah, Mata Sa'a. He asked the Prophet ﷺ about the last day, the Day of Judgment. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا ضُيِّعَتِ الْأَمَانَةِ فَانْتَظِرِ السَّاعَةِ. When the amana is neglected and taken away from people, people are not, you don't find amin, somebody that you can trust with anything. The Prophet ﷺ said, when the amana is neglected, you should wait for the Day of Judgment. They said, Ya Rasulullah, wa kayfa ida'atuha? They said, Ya Rasulullah, how is it going to be neglected? The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا أُسْنِدَ الْأَمْرُ إِلَى غَيْرِ أَهْلِهِ فَانْتَظِرِ السَّاعَةِ. Subhanallah. They said, Ya Rasulullah, how do we recognize the loss of the amana? The Prophet ﷺ said, when you see an affair being given to those people who don't deserve it, you should wait for the Day of Judgment. I ask you by Allah, my dear brothers and sisters, look at the life nowadays, the kind of the politics we are living, in nowadays. Look at the appointments in every country, look at what is going on. Sometimes we'll be questioning what is going on with the world. But since the system itself also is like that, that okay, this one is with me, this one is not with me, Whereas in Islam, it is supposed to be based on who can do the job, regardless of what he's coming from. As long as he's a Muslim, who can do the job? Who has the qualification to do the job perfectly? So the Prophet ﷺ said, when the issue is given to those people who are not qualified, unqualified people, you should wait for the Day of Judgment. So, Prophet also mentioned detail. The hadith of Hudayfa ibn Yaman was so excellent, but time will not permit me to quote that hadith completely. And then, qabd al-ilm, knowledge is going to be taken. SubhanAllah, this is really painful. Knowledge will be removed and ignorance will be rampant. Yeah, this is the time we are living nowadays. Allahu Alam. Because people seem to be scholars, but they're not. Person graduates, Allahu Alam, what did he even get? Even that basic which is given to him in the university does not qualify him actually to become a student of knowledge. Not yet. But now he is posed as a scholar talking on behalf of the whole community. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَقْبِضُ الْعِلْمَ انْتِزَاعًا يَنْتَزِعُهُ مِنْ صُدُورِ الْعُلَمَاءِ أَوْ صُدُورِ الرِّجَالِ. Allah will never come to the scholars and remove the knowledge from their heart. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take off the knowledge by taking the scholars one after that. حتى إذا لم يبق عالم اتخذ الناس رؤوسا جهالا فسئلوا فأفتوا فضلوا وأضلوا. Until the time you didn't have anyone among the scholars who left, and people are going to take leaders who are none other than ignorance. People who are posed as scholars, but فسئلوا, they will be questioned فضلوا فأفتوا, and they will be given the fatwa. فضلوا وأضلوا. They will be misguided and they will misguide us. That's living in this time, brothers and sisters. Imam Dhabi has a very nice statement when he says, knowledge that left nowadays is very little. Imam Dhabi, go and check the history and see, when did he die? 500, 600, 700, 800 years ago? He says nothing left except little amount of the correct and the beneficial knowledge at the hand of the qualified scholars, at the hand of the few, very few, he says, amongst the qualified scholars. Knowledge is little, the one that beneficial, the one that remains is little. And who's handling it? It's a very little amount of scholars. They're very little. He said the real scholars, they're very little. If Imam Dhabi is saying this, referring to his time, I don't know what would he be saying if it is to reach over time. So the point is, we should be very careful. What I want us to understand is we should be very careful. This is a message from the Prophet ﷺ that we should take this matter seriously. That's why in some places the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, talab al-ilm min al-asaq, looking for the knowledge from the asagir. Asagir, this is the plural of asagir, a little tiny human being, small person, young person. But this is not what should be understood from the text. That's why Abdullah ibn Mubarak said, he says the Prophet ﷺ is referring to those people who have no knowledge, but they always give fatwa based on their opinions. He says, Amma saghir, kabir, yarwi an saghir, or kabir yarwi an saghir. As for the younger person who narrates from the big person and pass the knowledge to others, this person is not saghir. You have a child who educated himself and spent his time and learned the knowledge and go and spread it to others. This is not a young person. This is a big person. So he's referring to who? To Ahlul Bidah. That's why they said, Al-Isnad min ad-din, fanzuru amman ta'khuduna din. Isnad, the chain of narration is part of the deen. And therefore, you should be very careful and make sure that you check properly. Who are you going to be taking your religion from? Should be very sensitive concerning this. One of the signs of the Day of Judgment, intishar zina. One of these signs is the intishar of the zina. Intishar means to be widely spread. He's talking about what? Zina. And in some narration, the Prophet ﷺ also talked about the spread of the riba. And subhanAllah, look at the time we're living in. I believe we are living in a time where we don't need any reference. Just open your ears, open your eyes, you will see these things are taking place. We're not talking about non-Muslims communities. We used to hear that this is their attitude, but now it creeps into our own communities. How many questions you receive concerning this matter? A lot. SubhanAllah. And nobody is following the strategies of the Prophet ﷺ to stop this thing from destroying the community. So zina will be on. Why? Because promiscuity is taking the lead. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whenever a promiscuity منتشرت الفاحشة في قوم حتى يعلنوا بها إلا فشى فيهم الطاعون والأوجاع التي لم تكن مضت في أسلافهم الذين مضوا. He says, al-fahisha, as a promiscuity, will never be widely spread among the people except that Allah will visit them with a plague, a plague and calamity and epidemic and diseases that were never heard. Nobody ever heard of them in the previous nation. Look at our time. Look at the situation, the kind of life we're living. And look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is visiting us with so many things. We became an uber, like a toy being played by so many. One of the signs of the Day of Judgment is intishar riba. Riba will be rampant. How do you escape from the riba nowadays? The financial system in the world is built upon the riba. almost every single part of our life, the riba is intact. It's not easy to live a life like that. If you try to save your money, you can't keep your money at home. You have to take it to the banks. And which bank is safe? Let's be honest to ourselves. Which bank is safe? We have this so-called Islamic banks, but go and see what exactly is being practiced by those people. Open your eyes, use your aql and think properly and study and relate that which is claimed to be Islam with the Sharia and see whether it fits the Sharia or not. So riba is going to be rampant, and we know what the Prophet said. You can see all of these signs, most of them, if not all of them, they already happened. That's why some scholars said the minor signs of the Day of Judgment, almost all of them happened or they happened, or they're happening right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us good and tawfiq. And the Prophet ﷺ said promiscuity is going to be rampant, and also qati'atul rahim wa su'ul jiwar. And people are going to be engaging in breaking the ties between them and their relatives. SubhanAllah. We hear a lot concerning this matter. Respect is taken. This one is fighting his father. This one is having a problem with his mother. How do you have a problem with your mother? I don't know. You Allah, I don't know. How can you have a problem with your mother? How? SubhanAllah. The aql is gone. We take a life like the way Western, as the Prophet ﷺ said, we're going to be following them. He says we are going to follow their direction and their path. They said, Ya Rasulullah, are you referring to the Persians and the Romans? Or Ar-Ruma Ta'ani, are you referring to the Romans? The Prophet ﷺ said, Man in nas either. He said, Faman. He said, who else? If not those ones. So, assalamu alaikum. So, this is taking place with su'ul jiwar, having bad neighborhood. Living with your neighbors in the bad ways and bad methods. One of them is Dhuhur al-Kasiyat al-Ariyat, having Muslim sisters, although they are covered, but they are naked, the Prophet said. Those ones, he said, they will never go to paradise and they will never smell it, the Prophet said. The scholar said, what is the meaning of Kasiyat al-Ariyat? As the Prophet said, two types of people, they are going to hell. I do not see them yet. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Rasulullah did not see that. Rasulullah did not see that, but we are living in it. Kasiyat aliyat. They wear something which they call hijab, but it's not. So now wearing hijab becomes so strange. And covering the aura is the norm. The Prophet ﷺ said, the ma'azif, these are the alatullah. The musical instruments are going to be rampant. Do you need any explanation concerning this? For sure, no. We have some scholars defending these ma'azif. They will tell you it's okay to go with them. And they have all types of, I don't know how to understand these so-called evidences, but there is nothing, in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that goes against those hadiths which mention that they are prohibited. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, before the Day of Judgment, people are going to make halal 4 things. People are going to make 4 things halal. It says al-hira, wal-harir, wal-khamr, wal-ma'azib. They're going to make al-hira. Al-hira, this is referring to the zina. Al-hira al-farj. Wal-harir, and the wearing of the silk for the brothers, for the male. Wal-khamr, and the drinking of the wine. Wal-ma'azif, and the use of the musical instruments with no exception. The only exception he gave is that duf, which is one-sided drum used by the sisters when that is a wedding. Dhahabu salihin. One of these signs of the Day of Judgment is the disappearance of the salihin. The righteous people will be gone. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يأخذ الله شريطته من أهل الأرض. The Day of Judgment will never happen until the time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take his sharita. Sharita is the al-khayr wal-fadl. The righteous people will be taken. As the Prophet ﷺ said, the righteous people will be taken one after the other, until the time there is nobody And in this hadith also, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Yabqa ajaja." It's called the ajaja. That's a ghawqa. The useless types of people, These are the ones that were left and remain on earth. They don't command people to do righteous deed, and they don't ask people to go against the evil. Allah will take the salihin first, so that life will be with those ones alone. The Prophet ﷺ said, the day of judgment will not happen until the time لا يقال في الأرض Allah, Allah. So because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken all of these righteous ones, who left on earth? We do not see this yet. God is still in existence, but it will happen most likely together with the righteous, with the last signs of the day of judgment. But sometimes it is happening also in some localities, but to happen collectively whereby you don't find any righteous person on earth, this one did not happen yet. But to have it taking place in some part of the globe, yes, this one has been taking place. As Al-Qurtubi said, these signs of the day of judgment, some of them shouldn't be understood comprehensively in the way that they have to, happen in every part of the world. He said that you can find a place, a locality which the zina or the riba is widely spread in that place. And in other place, they're still having the good manners and the good attitude. So it doesn't mean that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to see it being spread in every place. There was a year we lost so many great scholars, many great scholars. Almost within a year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken them. Sheikh Nasruddin, Sheikh Ibn Baz, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, subhanAllah. I was just remembering this hadith in Saudi Arabia when they kept on dying one after the other. I was just remembering this hadith. Sheikh Atiyah Mahmoud Salim, Sheikh Umar, and Sheikh Ali Hassan al-Nadawi, almost within 1 year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken all of these good ones back to him. Kathratu tijara wa kathratu zalazil. The tijara, business is going to be a lot in one. And somebody would say it's good. Yes, it's good if people are doing the halal one, but look at the type of business we're doing nowadays. Before, it used to be a minimum at the hand of a few. It's good, everyone, to be educated and to have something to do. This is good. That's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why sometimes having a sign for the day of judgment doesn't necessarily mean that that thing has to be bad. So if they're making it in the wrong way, then this is what is rejected by the Sharia. But to see the business is rampant, the Prophet ﷺ said, حَتَّى تُعِينَ الْمَرْأَةُ زَوْجَهَا. A woman also is going to be in the business, because in the past they are not in the business at all. So when you see them getting into business, so this is a sign of the day of judgment. It is not haram for a woman to do business. It's absolutely haram. She's just like the brother. When she does the correct one, it's okay. When he does the correct one, it's okay. When she does the bad one, it's not okay. When he does the good one, it's okay. But to have the time where they also join in the business, this is a sign of the day of judgment. So I said it does not necessarily mean something bad. And one of the signs of the day of judgment is that people will not be saying salam except to those whom they recognize them. Only say salam to the people. Prophet ﷺ said, Taslimun khassa, or salamu ala al-ma'rifah. People will be saying salam to a specific type of people who they know. Although they see the sign of Islam, but they don't say salam to every Muslim, except those whom they know. And subhanAllah, this is happening. Right now it is happening. وَكَثْرَةُ الْكَذِبِ وَعَدَمُ التَّثَبُّتِ فِي الْأَخْبَارِ. One of the signs of the day of judgment, كَثْرَةُ الْكَذِبِ وَعَدَمُ التَّثَبُّتِ فِي الْأَخْبَارِ. Lying is going to be allowed. And people will not care to check and verify information that is coming from them. Look at today. The WhatsApp message will come to you and ask you to pass it to others. Before they used to even threaten, if you don't do, may Allah do this and that. SubhanAllah. So silly, somebody will send you batil. Batil means batil. Batil in all of its forms, and he will ask you to send it to others. SubhanAllah. You have so many fake news in this life, so many fake news. So this is one of the signs of the day of judgment. One of them is كثرة الموت, موت الفجأة, وتمني الموت من شدة البلاء. So these are the last two things I will mention. There is another one, three left. There is another one which I will keep, inshallah, with the next lecture, which will be on the major signs of the Day of Judgment. These last two, كثرة موت الفجأة, the موت الفجأة will be sudden death, will be a lot. Subhanallah. Nowadays it is rampant. This heart attack that people are talking about. A person who used to be okay, but then will just die. Go to the room and sleep in the morning, we just have to take him to the bed. A person will just collapse. We just find a person dying, he died in his car. He was just driving, everything is normal, and then just like that. So what is the benefit of knowing this? A person should be prepared. We're living in this time, Wallahu a'lam, a person should be prepared because death can come at any moment. Ibn Hajar said, Imam al-Bukhari was making some lines of poetry. He mentioned a nasheed about reminding people about this sudden death. And he said, it is so ajib that you see that he also, this sudden death comes to him. He said something closer to that. He said the death of Imam Bukhari is almost closer to the sudden death. Sudden death is not bad for everyone who dies in that way. The Prophet Sallallahu said, one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, he said sudden death, and he says, sudden death, موت الفجأة أخذة أسف. So in this hadith, if you look at it, it's really a bad thing for somebody to die just like that because you don't have time. Allah did not give you a time to even make wasiyah. That's why, my dear brothers and sisters, it is really necessary for you to be prepared, to be ready. How do I prepare myself? To make sure that you're following the law of Allah SWT precisely every single moment, and to make sure that you're observing the muraqabah of Allah SWT. But for the good ones, this is not bad. Some of our scholars said that shows how much Allah SWT loves them, and He wants to see them when He gave the command to the angels, just take his life, I want to meet him. That's for the good ones. I used to worry so much about this until the time our scholars explain it so much to us. That's why you shouldn't live alone reading books. You should make sure that you have a scholar to explain to you how things work. And the Prophet ﷺ said, there will be a time before the Day of Judgment whereby a person will be wishing to die out of what? Tragedy and calamity and fitna. Life is very hard, tough. A person will be wishing death. The Prophet ﷺ said a person will go to the grave and see a grave. He doesn't even know what is inside that grave, but he will say, I wish I'm in the position of this person. The Prophet ﷺ said, there is nothing that is pushing him to make this wish except problems that are taking place. So nowadays, if you can see, the world is heading towards this. Some people are out there, trying to control everything. Almost everything is in a state of chaos. They want to control every single thing. And we are not innocent. Because if you look at our attitude and our manners, are we doing things in the way we deserve the protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Let's be honest to ourselves. Do we really deserve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to interfere and protect us from anyone who is plotting against us? Look at the life of the Muslims nowadays. Look at their attitudes. Look at their willingness to take the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and apply it in themselves. Whenever you talk about the Sharia, they would distort the meaning and make it just focus on hudud. So the Sharia of Allah is not about hudud. Hudud are just part of it. It's much bigger than that. But they let our community believe that Sharia is all about application of hudud. That's why many, even our people, detest the Sharia. They don't like it. And that shows the level of the Imam and the Tarbiyah that have been given by those who are given the Tarbiyah to the people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us good and tawfiq And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be aware of all of these mentions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and put them into practice and action. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be prepared for meeting him in the way, even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happen to take our life, in that sudden way, the person will not regret what he meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Innahu bi kulli jamilin kafeel. Barakallahu feekum. So I will stop here, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, in the next session, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wish. I will be dealing with the last thing I plan to discuss concerning the minor signs of the Day of Judgment. And then right after it, I will close with the major signs of the Day of Judgment, which are around 10. There are signs which will happen also together with the major signs of the Day of Judgment, but I will just focus on those ones and then a bit about Jannah and health, and that will be the topic, inshallah. So barakallahu feekum. Sheikh Rida, I return back the mic to you.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh, for the comprehensive description. We have some questions here. I'll read it one by one. Some of them are relating to the hadith and the events leading up to the Day of Judgment. So the first one, the hadith about the black flag from Khurasan is a mawdu' hadith. Yes, Sheikh? Could Sheikh please explain the interpretation of this hadith?
Yes, it's weak narration. So, and as such, we don't need any interpretation. These narrations, they are not supposed actually to be narrated. The scholars have mentioned that a weak narration is not supposed to be mentioned unless if you are going to talk to the student of knowledge about weaknesses. But in the normal place, these hadiths are not supposed to be discussed at all. So I will prefer just ignoring it. It's a weak narration. Many people, I remember during the first war between the Afghanistan and the United Nations, you can say. That first war when the 9/11 happened, when they are fighting, many people are using this hadith to support that the success and those black what do you call flags are going to come from the Khorasan, and many people are using that place to be Afghanistan. So, and I guess these things are coming whenever something happens in that part of the world, Afghanistan, then you see these hadiths. Last time also was mentioned, a lot of questions have been asked when the war is taking place, and now also with the coming back of the Taliban, people will start thinking about that. May Allah grant us good intent.
Ameen. So the next question, the hadith about the drying up of the Euphrates River is said to be one of the signs before coming of Imam Mahdi. Is this authentic, Sheikh?
Yeah, this one is authentic, inshallah. There are many other, as I said, other signs of the Day of Judgment. And this question, I don't know the one who is asking, but it looks like somebody who's following us in our dars of Ad-Da'i wa Dawa. Inshallah, this book I have in my hand called Ashrat al-Sa'ah, the Dr. Yusuf ibn Abdullah al-Wadil. Ibn Allah Ta'ala will be my next book after the after the Ad-Da'i wa Dawa. And it's very I don't know how to call it. It's not that comprehensive, but almost everything that inshallah you need to know about these things, you find them.
Barakallah.
Besides patience, the details are going to be given. All of these signs about Euphrates and some other issues mentioned by the Prophet ﷺ to be taking place in that part of the world, Iraq, we will talk about that, inshallah.
One of the participants asked to repeat the name, Sheikh, if possible.
The book called Ashrat al-Sa'ah, the author is Yusuf ibn Abdullah ibn Yusuf al-Wadi. The book is Ashrat al-Sa'ah, very straightforward, Ashrat al-Sa'ah, the signs of the Day of Judgment, and the author is Yusuf ibn Abdullah ibn Yusuf al-Wadi.
Okay, good. Jazakallah khairan. Next question. From your observation, Sheikh, have all the minor signs happened? Barakallah fikum.
No, not all of them. There are many which take place. The Prophet ﷺ said the Day of Judgment will never happen. حتى لا يقال في الأرض الله الله. This one did not happen yet. And the Prophet ﷺ said it says, Yusra ala kitabillahi fi layla. A time will come that the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be taken. Even the one in the heart, also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove it. This one did not happen. You have a time whereby the animals will be speaking to the people. This one did not happen. You have a minor signs of the Day of Judgment, which the barakah will come back, to the people. This barakah will come back, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put barakah in the food. This one did not happen yet. There is a time whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take the righteous. Every good person will be gone. Rih, will come. A wind will come. It will take every a mu'min. This one also did not happen. And there are many others which did not take place, but the vast majority of the minor signs of the Day of Judgment has already happened.
Barakallahu feek. Next question. Are we now living in the phase of fitnatul duhaima, Sheikh?
Duhaima, wallahu a'lam, because until now, there is good in the there is good in the people. Alhamdulillah. Lectures have been given. I remember one of our great scholars, Sheikh Nasir, he always say that people are still in a good shape. He always say that we are still in a good shape. And this is true, because we still go to the masajid, we still have lectures, But the moment you see lectures and classes and no more, ability and permission to go and give lectures and to teach people, to educate people and to do amr bil ma'ruf, then this is when you can say that, yes, really great trouble. There will be no good in life. Going to the grave is much better for a person.
Barakallahu feek. This leads us to the last question. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Ibrahim. May Allah protect us from all evils and fitnah so that Islam will be victorious in the end. I fear that Allah would no longer protect us if we lost our identity as Muslims and following the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How can we, by doing amar ma'ruf nahi munkar, can protect us from these signs of fitnah and evil that will eventually destroy us all? Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh.
Barakallahu feekum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu alaykum anfusakum, la yadurrukum man dhalla idha ihtadaytum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He is talking to the believers, He said, take care of yourself. Mind your business and take care of yourself. La yadurrukum man dhalla idha ihtadaytum. The one who is misguided, his misguidance will never affect you as long as you're guided. The meaning of this ayah is that as long as you are doing the amr bil ma'ruf, because it is part of the huda and the guidance to do amr bil ma'ruf. As long as you're doing the amr bil ma'ruf and also you're doing the nahi anil munkar, the misguidance of somebody who refused to take the guidance from you will never harm you. So that's why I should do that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded me to do. I should hold upon the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu, as you mentioned, with no compromise whatsoever. And also I should extend, the benefits, and the good thing I have, I should extend it to others. I should remind them about Allah. I should guide them. I should warn them. I should tell them what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. I shouldn't keep quiet. The problem will take place and come and affect me and my children when I keep silent. Having a nation without da'wah in them, this is very dangerous life. Being in a nation where da'wah is not given is very dangerous. Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala visit people with the punishment, it's going to include everyone, including the people who are upon the guidance, which is deficient. Because guidance cannot be stable as long as da'wah is not given to the people. So my job, your job, their job, and everybody's job is to hold upon the truth first and foremost. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. He talks about the good ones who believe and put their faith into practice and action, and they translate that iman which is in the heart. So you can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started with you first, to hold upon the iman firmly and to put it into practice and action, and also وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. They invited others to also practice the good thing, to be good. So they invited others to also practice that. They invited others to also practice the good. And also they observe patience. So as long as I put this surah into practice and action, I have the iman and I have the righteousness, and I put this. I put my righteousness into, I put my iman into practice and action, and also I extend the benefit to others. I maintain my patience, then definitely the protection will come to me and my family and whoever is following. Don't worry at all. As long as you are following the correct way and you try to benefit people and you extend the da'wah to others, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you will be protected from any evil. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us good and help us to maintain our religion with no compromise.
Jazakallah khairan. May we all benefit from this advice, mashallah. So this is the last of the question, and that's it, I guess, inshallah. Barakallah fikum.
There is one question here.
Oh, okay.
Talking about Mahdi. How will Mahdi look like on earth? Okay, this question will be answered, inshallah, in the next lecture, because the next lecture will be on this. That's the first thing we should be talking when we talk about the major signs of the Dajjal. So I thought he's asking about something which is related to our lecture today, but it's about Al-Mahdi.
Okay. So inshallah, we will look forward to the next one, the continuation of the lecture series, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullah khairan. Jazakumullah
khairan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and put barakah in your life, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you tawfiq and protect all of you from this pandemic. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show us the time where this pandemic will be removed completely from Malaysia and every Muslim territory wherever they are. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us wherever we are. Innahu bi kulli jamilin kafir. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant good to all of those people who participated, especially the PNP who organized the program. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them tawfiq and guide them to doing that which pleases Him. إنه بكل جميل كفيل سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاك الله خيرا شيخ.
آمين. السلام عليكم.